Hey everyone, my name is Sean Cecil from the Oculus Institute, and today I'm going to teach you how to unlock real gratitude. Okay, so everybody out there says you should have a gratitude practice. It's very common. You should go count your blessings, think about what you're thankful for, all this kind of stuff. But the truth is that most people, when they do that, they have a very shallow experience of gratitude. They don't have that kind of deep, full gratitude, or it doesn't last. It may exist for 15 or 30 minutes a day, but it's not a bedrock state that helps influence their lives. And everybody talks about, well, how can I be more grateful? How can I be more grateful? How can I be more grateful? And they focus all their effort on trying to maximize that state. Whereas gratitude is actually the natural default state for, a human. I know that sounds crazy because that's not what most of us experience, but if you take out all the stress and all the chaos and all the nonsense, gratitude is one of the few things that remains. And so what I want to steer you towards is a different perspective. Instead of trying to focus on what can I do to be more grateful, focus on what you can eliminate that prevents you from being grateful, right? Clear out the anti-gratitude, and what's left over will be gratitude. So there are 5 types of anti-gratitude that I want to, show to you guys so that you can know, hey, listen, if I can avoid this, then what's left over is going to be thankfulness, gratitude, and that will ultimately influence your life in a wonderful way. So the first type of anti-gratitude is impatience, right? So if you're the kind of person who's very, dominant, very decisive, very, hey, I'm gonna go get this done, laser focused on the outcome, then this not enoughness that will show up is, hey, I'm at X and I wanna be at Y, and you focus on that gap between X and Y, right? And by focusing on that gap, you're not being grateful, right? You're focusing on what you don't have instead of what you do, right? And so in that case, it's better to focus on, hey, listen, I have X, right? Instead of, hey, I don't have Y. The second kind of anti-gratitude is envy. So envy is when you look at somebody else and you say, oh, they've got this and I don't, right? So now you're focusing on the not enoughness, on the gap between what you have and what they have, right? And the cure for this is something called compersion. That's compersion, compersion. And so compersion is when you're genuinely happy for somebody else instead of envying what they have. And a good example for this is, like if you have a friend and they find their soulmate, right? They find the perfect person for them, the perfect man or woman for them, right? Ideally, right, you're gonna be happy for them. You're gonna say, man, I'm so happy you guys found each other, right? That's compersion, right? So apply that to, money, or apply that to other aspects of life, right? And that's the cure for envy. The third kind of anti-gratitude is nostalgia, which is, things used to be better, right? And that one is a little bit more tricky, but there's a little hack that you can do to completely get around that, and that is you can look at time frames. So if you're saying, hey, listen, I used to be here and now I'm here and I've gone down, look over the whole course of your life. Have you always been? Is this rock bottom right now? Or, if you look at it over time, are you actually better off than you used to be? Almost always, if you shift the time frame and you look at it on a longer scale, you're actually better off than you used to be. So if this is the stock market and you're going like this and you're here, you shouldn't be angry that you weren't here. You should be happy that you've had this positive trend. Now, if you are in a case where you are actually at rock bottom and this is the worst you've ever been, well, A, that means that it's time to take some very serious action and make some very serious change. But also B, that's actually a little bit encouraging because the greatest transformations happen at rock bottom. And if that's the case, then it can only go up from here, assuming that you make the changes you need to make. But in that case, you probably need to have like a come to Jesus conversation with yourself on how you got there and make some really radical shifts. The fourth kind of anti-gratitude or not enoughness is a sense of scarcity. It's a sense of, it's the opposite of a sense of abundance. It's, oh, I don't have enough to do this. I can't maintain my quality of life. Things are gonna get bad, and it's consumed by fear and, oh, the world's gonna get worse and I can't stay secure, right? And it's triggering that kind of second layer of Maslow's pyramid that's around safety and security, right? The cure for this one is generally it's all driven by fear, so you have to face that fear. And I've got another video on dissolving fear, but fundamentally you have to ask yourself, A, what's the fear at the root of the fear? B, is that core fear really plausible? Not the surface level fear, but what you're afraid of it leading to. Is that really plausible, or is your mind blowing things out of proportion? And if it is plausible, then, let's just imagine that it comes to happen. What would you do in that contingency, and how could you get your life, to something that you can accept? And that last part can be hard because you have to like really go into the fear and face the fear. So ideally, it dissolves. And the second thing where you find out that when you ask so what, nothing really happens, it's not a big deal, or it dissolves where you realize that it's not actually plausible. But if you have to, sometimes you do have to, feel your fear, go into it, and come up with, what would you do if it happened, which I call contingency planning. But if you go through that fear dissolving process, then, you can get rid of that fear. The other thing is, if you're dealing with scarcity, with that kind of not enoughness, you can always take action, right? You can always do something to change the situation where you don't feel secure. Normally, the people who are most prone to feeling the scarcity kind of not enoughness are also the ones who tend to procrastinate the most. It's just a psychological pattern, right? And so you can actually turn that pain into power by turning that scarcity mentality against your procrastination and letting the two demons kill each other. Wonderful tactic, right? And then finally, the fifth kind of not enoughness, the fifth kind of anti-gratitude is greed. And greed I define as the constant search for more, better, or different, right? And so greed is the part of you that will never be satisfied, right? It doesn't matter how much you get, it's never enough. It's not like impatience where you say, hey, I'm trying to get to Y and then I'll be good. Greed is just always like you get it and you're like, oh no, now I want more. Oh no, now I want more. And the cure for greed is you have to see it for what it is. And that is, it's insatiable. You have to see that part of you that's always demanding more will never be happy. And you've got to set some limits. You've got to say, okay, listen, what are my limits? What will it take to get me to a place where I can be content? And you have to have, kind of a negotiation between your mind, which is, normally in a state of greed, and your soul, which just wants inner peace and doesn't really require anything to get it. And so you can have some kind of negotiation, come up with something that's reasonable and achievable in the next couple of years. And now you've moved it from greed to impatience. And we know how to deal with impatience. So those are the 5 kinds of anti-gratitude, right? Impatience, envy, nostalgia, scarcity, and greed. And scarcity could also be called fear, right? And so if you get rid of those 5, then gratitude is what will remain. And so guys, that's the key to having an amazing gratitude practice, and not just a gratitude practice, but a bedrock sense of gratitude throughout your life. Before you go, I've got a free gift for you. So if you found this video valuable, if it helped you see the world in a new way, and you're interested in building a career that's going to bring you both personal fulfillment and financial prosperity, then I've got a free presentation for you to help you do just that. So if you go to the link below, it's www.oculusinstitute.com/workshop. That's www.oculusinstitute.com/workshop. Then it'll take you to a registration for a free presentation. It's about 50 minutes long, that's 50, and it's gonna give you the step-by-step process to building your dream career. See you there.